Okay, we're going to continue texturing the controller in this video. First thing I want to show you is that I created my own Scratch alpha inside of Photoshop. And you don't specifically need to do this. There are different Scratch alphas and tools inside of Substance Painter, but I just want to do it this way. So if you decide to do it this way, then all I did was I created a new layer in Photoshop on a 2048 by 2048 canvas, filled it with black, and then I chose a brush. Let's see, I used this Kyle's spatter brush, Supreme Spatter. Yeah, Supreme Spatter texture brush tool. Turn the brush size way down, 3 pixels, and then paint it all over this in white. And then I proceeded to copy the layer, shrink it down, and duplicate it and rotate it a bunch until I got something like this. And then after that, if you go to Filter, let me turn this on, select the layer, then go to Filter, Other, and Offset. You can offset the image by half horizontally and vertically, and then you can paint out the seams. So this there's kind of a little bit of a seam here, but it's not very noticeable. I could spend more time on this, but essentially this is tileable at this point. So then I just saved this out as a PNG, and then I imported it into the project by clicking on this Import Resources button, right? We've done this before, add resources. I found it and defined it as an alpha. And there it is, scratches. All right, so we'll use that later. All right, let's go ahead and start by filling in the back D-pad, this bottom part. This is technically supposed to be a hole, but it's just a flat like plane in this direction. So we'll try and disguise that a little bit. So I'm going to go up here and zoom in to this area. And then I'll find the D-pad folder. Here it is. I'm going to click on, let's open it up so we can see. All right, I'm going to click on the mask so that I can paint in the mask. And I want to change my brush to white. Then I'll go to brushes over here and choose a basic hard brush. Now I'm going to scale this down so that it kind of fits in this inside corner. Click once, hold shift, go to the opposite corner, click again. And I'll do that for here and here. If your UVs aren't straight for this part, or the bake isn't, straight, then this will be a little more challenging. You'll have to kind of do it more by hand. So I'll speed this part up. I'm just gonna finish filling this in. All right, that's much better. Let's go ahead and adjust the ambient occlusion right here a little bit. So I'm gonna scroll down to, let's see, baking fixes. And I'm gonna create a new folder actually, and I'll name this baking. And I'll drag this baking fixes layer into baking. And then I will create a new layer. I'll turn everything off over here, except for AO for ambient occlusion. I'll drag this over to black. And brushes, I'm going to choose a basic soft. Let's go to our alphas. And I'll use this shape bell and drag it into alpha. And I will scale this down considerably. All right, and we'll turn this opacity down a little bit. Let's see, let's change this to ambient occlusion. Turn the opacity down a little bit. Something like that. I'll change this back to base color. And that's good for now. All right, let's go ahead and start adding grime and scratches to the main case. So first I'm going to name this as AO D-pad. Then I'll close the baking folder. And I need to find the casing matte folder. Here it is. I'm going to open this up. And I'm going to go to, so I'll select Plastic Matte Pure. I'm going to go to my materials. And I'm going to choose this mortar wall, which may seem like an odd choice, but we're going to adjust it. So I'm going to click and drag this in to the layer stack. There it is. It is inside of the, make sure it's in the casing matte folder. Next, let's change the color, something much grayer like this. Increase the roughness all the way up to 1. I'm going to turn off normal, and I'll turn off metal. And scale, I'm going to turn this up a bit. I'll change UV projection to triplanar. And that's good for now. Next, let's go to Smart Masks, and I'm going to choose this dust occlusion and drag it onto the mortar wall. And then with the mask selected, I'll click on this dirt, scroll to the top, and play with this dirt level, increase it a bit. Now, the method here is to kind of overdo it, and then we're going to paint it back. So I'm going to play with these sliders until I get something that I like. Now I want the dirt that I'm creating here, this grime, to affect the text back here. But because this is height information that we stamped on, by default, this generator, this mask is not going to affect it, but we can change that. So I'm going to grab, let me make this larger. I'm going to grab the height stamps and drag it all the way down to the bottom, like so. I'll open this up, and I'm going to find the height stamp for this text. Here it is, back Nintendo text. I'm going to select the mask and right click on the mask and go add anchor point. And I'll see that there's this little anchor symbol here, and the name of the anchor point is the name of the layer, back Nintendo text mask. So that's good. I'll go back to this dirt layer, scroll down, and where it says micro height, I'm going to click on that. And I'll click on anchor points, and I'll select the anchor point that I made. And then where it says micro details, I'm going to open this up, and where it says micro height, I'm going to turn this on. And you'll see that when I turn that on, the mask is now affecting the height. So a couple things to note: this will not work unless the layer that you want to anchor is beneath the layer that you're referencing that anchor for. So it's a good idea to drag your height stamps to the bottom of the layer stack. All right, so that's good for now. Let's go ahead, and right now this is very, like single toned. Let's see, so we want to change that. So I'm actually going to select this layer and duplicate it, or I'm going to hit Control C and then Control V to make another one. And it's a good idea to have some color variation. So I'm going to select this second, the one that's on top, and we need to make it different so it's not exactly the same in placement as well as color. So first I'll change the color, and I want something a little more brown. Add some red to it, something like that. Then I'll select the mortar wall mask and then the dirt, and then I'll come up here and I'll hit random on the seed, and then I'll play with these sliders to make it different. Right, I'm going to rename these so I can recognize them better. So I'll name this one Grime Gray. This one will be Grime Brown. Then I'm going to create a new folder inside of the casing mat, and this folder will be named Grime. And then I'm going to select both of these and drag them into the Grime folder. I can right click on the Grime folder and add a white mask. And then I'll come over here. So now I can paint away the grime where I want to. So I'll go ahead and go to brushes, and I'm going to use Dirt 2. And then I'll just be scaling my brush, and I'm going to go through, I'm going to paint away a lot of this grime, particularly focusing on where fingers and stuff would typically be pressed. But I want this thing to also look, well used. So I'll end up speeding this up. I want there to be some grime along the indentation here, so I'm going to open up the grime folder. I'll start with the grime brown, right click, add a paint, add paint, and now I can come in here and kind of paint this in a little bit by hand. Okay, I'm going to close this folder. Let's go ahead and use that. Let's go ahead and use the Scratch Alpha to do a roughness pass. So first I'll select the plastic matte pure and check out where the roughness is currently at. Alright, and then let's open up Grime and check out the roughness for these. It's pretty high. Let's turn the roughness down a little bit on these, but make them different. Then I'll select the top Grime layer inside the Grime folder, create a new fill layer. I'm going to name this Rough Pass Case. And I'll turn everything off except for roughness. Alright, so I'm going to right click on the rough pass case, add a black mask, right click on the black mask and go to add fill, and then where it says grayscale, I'll click and drag scratches into grayscale. Change the projection to triplanar projection. And then I'm going to grab this, you can kind of see it's changing right here, so you can find a good view. And I need to actually move this roughness pass above this Grime, so I need to bring it up here to the top. There we go. Now it's showing up more. Great. In the next video, we'll work on continuing with the main body of the controller. See you there.